This video focuses on the Manchurian Crisis, which is part of the Conflict and Tension AQA spec 1918 to 1939. Now, I've done a video about this already, you might remember. No, not that one. No. No, not that one either. I didn't make either of those. I did a video a few weeks ago about the League of Nations and its successes and failures in the 1920s, and we touched upon a little bit of the failures in the 1930s as well, a little bit about Manchuria and the Abyssinian Crisis in 1936. In this video, I'm focusing on the account question, which is an 8-marker. Now, if you do English literature, like myself when I was at school, you may have been told off sometimes for your answers being too narrative, for you writing down as much of your own knowledge as you possibly know without really focusing on the question. Now, to a certain extent, a narrative structure is what is needed for this account question. But what examiners are really looking for is a student that is able to explain changes over time. So that means causes and especially consequences, and we'll be looking at that 8-mark account question a little bit later on. Let's just remind ourselves of some of the causes of the Manchurian Crisis.
Manchuria is a region of China on the northeastern coast. It has many natural resources such as coal and iron ore. Therefore, the area had a lot of outside interest from Japan and Russia. Japanese industry was in decline after 1929 following the Wall Street crash. The USA had been a key trading partner with Japan. When the American economy crashed, Japan could no longer sell and export items such as silk to them. This had previously been a major source of income for Japan. By 1931, employment fell by 30%. Japan believed it could ease its economic problems by expanding its empire and gaining access to more raw materials. Manchuria was geographically close to Japan. Japan already had large industries in Manchuria, notably the South Manchurian Railway. On the 18th of September 1931, there was an explosion on the South Manchurian Railway. The Japanese army claimed the train had been attacked by Chinese soldiers. The Kwantung Army, a Japanese army based in Manchuria, used this as an excuse to take over Manchuria. They wanted the world to believe this was a defensive move rather than an act of aggression to take over the area. In 1932, Japan placed Puyi in charge of the area. Puyi was an ex-Chinese emperor who had been thrown out of power in 1911. Japan could control him, meaning he was known as a puppet ruler.
So what was the international reaction to the Manchurian Crisis?
Well, a British politician named Lord Lytton led a commission of inquiry. Lytton went to the area to investigate what had happened. A report was finally published in October 1932 after 7 months of investigating the incident. The report concluded that Japan was in the wrong. There was no justification for invading the area, even if there had been an attack on the South Manchurian Railway.
So as I said earlier, this is very much a consequence question where we're explaining change over time. So let's have a look at those important consequences of the crisis.
Japan ignored the findings of the Lytton report and the moral condemnation of the League of Nations. Japan left the League of Nations, leaving the League to once again appear weak and ineffective. This gave Japan the opportunity to go on to invade the rest of China. In February 1933, Japan invaded another Chinese region, Johor. By 1937, Japan had taken most major cities in China. This was another failure of the League. Japan had been one of the 4 most important members, yet they had completely undermined the League and subsequently left. As a result of Japan getting away with invading Manchuria, European dictators like Hitler of Germany and Mussolini of Italy started to believe they could get away with expanding their empires too.
Now at this point, we want to be thinking maybe what we can include for our higher level answers. We might want to be thinking, what value did the League of Nations still have? Was it completely defunct by 1933? Well, perhaps it wasn't, not just yet. Some European leaders still believe that the League of Nations might still be able to serve a purpose when dealing with any crisis in Europe, but maybe Japan and Southeast Asia was a bit too far away. So let's have a look at that account question.
Now, the Manchurian crisis could typically come up as an account question, and this is a typical question that has been given to us by AQA. Write an account of how events in Manchuria became an international crisis in the years 1931 to 1933. Now, the first paragraph that AQA have given us goes as follows. One way that events in Manchuria became an international crisis was because Britain and France felt let down by Japan's invasion of Manchuria. As a permanent member of the League, Japan should not have committed aggression. This meant that the League was in difficulties because it couldn't be seen to let Japan get away with it. They set up the Lytton Commission, which reported that Japan's forces should not have occupied Manchuria, which was an international crisis because Japan walked out of the League in fury. Another way that events in Manchuria led to an international crisis was because it took the League so long to react. It took Lord Lytton a long time to travel to Japan, which meant that the League did not respond until a whole year after the invasion and Japan got to keep Manchuria. This was an international crisis because one of the League's aims was to discourage aggression and the members were supposed to trust the League would protect them. However, after the Manchurian crisis, the League was no longer respected because it showed that it couldn't deal with more powerful countries, which led to more aggression later by Italy and Germany in Abyssinia and the Sudetenland. So this answer that AQA have given us is a level 4 standard. And notice that with any 8 marker, whether it be a significance question, an importance question, or a how useful is this source type question, there are 2 big points being made. And note that the answer is heavily focused on consequences of the Manchuria crisis to show change over time. Also look at the text that is highlighted in red. Here are examples of where this student has used their own knowledge.
I hope this short video on the Manchurian crisis and the account question has been of some help. Do obviously feel free to like this video, to make a helpful comment, and to also subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, take care and stay safe.
Helicopter, helicopter.